Why did you want to become a fireman?
Well, I actually didn't. The way the story goes, my dad was a fireman, and when I was old enough to take the test, he told me to take the test. So I said, I want to become a cop. I don't want to become a fireman. I want to become an Nassau County cop. He says, fine, just take the test, and this way it's up to you whether you want the job or not. I said, fine. So I took the Nassau County test, the fire department test, state trooper test, just about every civil service test that was around, because you never know. And these things take a long time to come about. It could take years, unless you write at the very top of the list, which I never did write at the very top. I was always in the middle. Anyway, so it was about 3 years. I took the test in '79, and they called me in '81. So by then, I wanted to become a fireman. So I went to the academy, and I became a fireman on July 11th of 1981. And worked out great. In fact, it turns out that my brother, who was younger than me, also became a fireman. But later on, he was in the service at the time. He got on a little more than 10 years after me. And my father did 34 years. He got out as a lieutenant. I did 32, got out as a chief, battalion chief. And my brother stayed a fireman, which is fine, and he got out in 20 years, because that's what he wanted to do. And that's it. We're all firemen. Like I said, I was there for 32 years. Okay, on September 11th, when the day started, I was home. And I was listening to the TV or the news, and they mentioned a plane hitting the towers. And I said to myself, and they said it was an accident, and I'm saying to myself, planes don't hit the towers by accident. I didn't even know what size the plane was. They were saying it was a little one, but whatever. Then the second plane hit, and I said, that's it, I'm out of here. I got in my car, because at the time, I was a captain in Manhattan. 14 engine on 18th Street, and between 5th and Broadway. So I figured my guys, if they're not there yet, they're gonna go there. So I got in my car, and I drove into Manhattan. Traffic was atrocious on the northern state, so I ended up on the lawn, driving down there, and then there was a roadblock. As you got into the city, there was no one in. So I had my uniform was at work, so I had my badge, I hung it out the window, they let me go, and I went flying down the Grand Central, got on the LE, and just before the Midtown Tunnel, I saw the buildings on fire. And I knew it wasn't good. And then I'm hearing on the radio that, something happened in Washington, something happened in Pennsylvania, and I said to myself, well, if they pretty much blow up the Midtown Tunnel when I'm going through it, I just disappear, no one knows where I am. Nobody, my wife, nobody. So I made it through, I was like, this is good. So I made my way down to my firehouse, and there was no one there. So I'm like, oh, this isn't good. So I called up my bosses in the division, and I asked what was going on, and they said they think they're down there, and I said, oh, okay. I said, well, I want to go down there. What do you do? What do I do? They said, you can park your car down by us, and they were down near Spring Street. So now I'm driving downtown with all my stuff. I got my helmet on top of my car, and everybody's running this way. And I'm like, all right. So I park there, and then I start walking, and I go all the way down. The tower collapses, all the dust comes. I was really far away, so I didn't get hit by nothing. But then I get down to VZ and Broadway, and there's nobody there. It's like eerie. There's no people there. There's fire trucks, police cars, there's ambulances. Some are on fire, some aren't. There's debris everywhere, because now I'm really close to the towers. And after a couple minutes, a couple firemen show up. Guys like me who kind of came from home. And we're like, okay, so there was a couple of chiefs, I was a captain, there was a couple of lieutenants, and there was maybe 25 firemen. So we decided to everybody take 5 or 4 guys, go to a fire truck and get tools, but there wasn't enough. So we had to actually break into a hardware store to get more tools. And got our tools, and we started walking towards the Twin Towers, and I'll never forget it. The car, I said, okay, well, we're gonna get hoses from the fire truck and hook them up to the hydrants and start putting these cars out and some fire trucks. Look at the fire trucks, make sure that none of our guys are in there. Look under the cars and make sure no people are around, in the ambulances. And there was a couple of police cars that we had to check out, but there was ESU police vehicles. They carried bullets. Now, this one was on fire. So now the bullets are going off, flying through the air, and I'm saying, this really isn't good. I said, guys, we got to put that out first, because I don't feel like getting shot. I don't get paid to get shot. I put out fire. And then more and more guys came, and then before you know it, more chiefs came, and it became more, because in the beginning it was, you know, you did what you could. There wasn't real organization because everybody was still trying to recover. But then the more and more chiefs came, they provided a command post at Broadway in VZ, and you know, orders started coming out, and you know, we just did what we could, you know, looking for people and putting out fires, setting up trucks, trying to get water because the hydrants were broken. There wasn't much water around. And I'll never forget also that I was on the east side of the deal, and it was a bright sunny day. The wind was blowing to the east. The west side of it, everybody was in clean air, sunshine. I never went over there because I was doing too much stuff where I was, but my end was so black and so dark, it was like dusk, and the debris and soot in the air was unbelievable, to the point where when I went home, I didn't get back, well, I didn't go home, I went back to the firehouse at like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. My neck was all bloody from all the stuff that was stuck under my shirt and coat, like broken glass, broken, you know, cement, parts of the building, parts of people, just all kinds of stuff. And I thought everybody was like that, but they weren't. I was on the wrong end. My guys are on the wrong end of the building, but you know, thank God I'm okay with all the stuff, because we had no masks. They gave us some medical mask, you know, to wear, but I took it right off because it was so irritating. I mean, I just like, it was, well, how long ago? It was 14 years ago?
Yeah.
And I'm 59. So I was 49,
45.
44. So I spent a long time, and many of my friends, some have died since. My one very good friend has leukemia, but they cured him. And a ton of my guys are getting like cancers, like prostate cancer and stuff. Thank God I'm not getting any of that. A lot of guys have lung problems. I don't have any, and I find that hard to believe, but maybe I'm lucky. But so far I'm good. What happened was, see, this never happened before in New York City as far as such a big thing. And I mean, there's been fires where guys come from home and help, but this was, you know, in the beginning, it was every man for himself, get what you can, do what you can. And eventually they gave us masks. They gave us those white, you know, like what a doctor would wear. And you know, you should really wear it because it's for particulates, and that's what it really was, and it would have helped me. But there was so much soot and fiber, it irritated my face so much, I didn't wear it. Maybe some guys did, I don't know, but I didn't wear it. You know, I mean, and later on, the wind shifted. I remember later on, but just before dark, it started to get a little better, because another thing that happened to me, which was kind of bizarre. Building 7, I don't know if you remember Building 7, had a lot of damage to it. Very high building. And in the beginning, when me and my guys first got there wasn't much going on, but the command post was started, but there wasn't a lot going on. Anyway, I made my way down to that building, and there was a lot of firemen, like 50 or 60 guys, and some officers, and there's one chief, and he says, guys, we're gonna, you know, I want the engine guys to go here and the truck guys to go there, and, you know, get organized, and we're gonna go in this building and put the fire out. So I look up at the building, and it's like 40-something stories, and the whole side's blown out. There's like 2 floors of fire. I know there's no water in the buildings. I'm sure that standpipes are busted. So I look at him, I says, we can't put this fire out, it ain't happening. Oh, Captain, we can. Just go in there and get you guys. So I've been fighting, at the time, I was in Manhattan for just about, at least 4 years, and I know how to fight high-rise fires, and they didn't happen. So I said to my guys, this is what you do. You stay here and look busy. I'm going to the command post and letting these guys know what this guy wants to do. So I go to the command post, and I tell some high chief what he wants to do, and I said, yeah, it's that pink building over there. He looks at it, he says, you kidding me? I said, I ain't kidding you. Better send someone over there, because he ain't listening to me. So they were sent guys over there, and before you know it, no one went in, we just backed away, and the building came down at 5 o'clock. And since then, well, months later, I was interviewed, and a lot of other people, I'm sure, by NIST and stuff, because remember they were trying to figure out why that building came down, because it really shouldn't have. And they wanted to know what I saw, when I saw it, and I told them to the best of my ability, but somehow the word got out that I did that. And I think I told the story, when I got promoted in '02, and it was like chief school, and I think I told the story, and it was shortly after I get phone calls, so somehow the word got out of people who actually saw this, because not a lot of people saw what I saw, because they either didn't notice it or weren't there. So that was a pretty interesting thing. I was pretty happy, you know. I did that because someone who didn't know said, yeah, we'll go in there, we can put that fire out. Wasn't happening.
How have the events of September 11th affected you and your family?
Well, you know, they think about it, you know. My wife was affected probably more than most wives, because, most regular without firemen as family, because she knew a lot of my friends who died. I knew 60 guys who died, some better than others, but I knew a lot of guys. Some guys I knew very well. Some guys were firemen with me, and I knew at the time, 2011, I had 20 years on the job, and from 81, some of those guys I knew for 20 years, and it was tough. And so, you know, it affected my life that way. You know, sometimes when I hear a song about it, I cry, you know, briefly or whatever, think about my friends or stuff, but I'm fine. You know, I have friends who are really mentally, like, you know, they forget things. Some guys have a lot of difficulty. Some guys saw a psychiatrist. I didn't. My consolation was sitting in the firehouse talking with my friend, other firemen, about it. Not my wife or family, firemen. And that was good for me. And I guess through being a fireman and seeing what I've seen for the past 30 years, I learned to deal with things like that. A good friend of mine before 9/11, I knew since high school, passed away of a heart condition at like 40 years old. And the night that we found out, my wife says, why aren't you crying? I said, I don't know. I says, aren't you upset? I says, yeah. I said, but I guess I see death so much, even though I'm really upset, it's not like, you know, I start crying. I mean, but then like I said, you know, even now, around 9/11, when they start playing those songs, I'll cry for a little bit. I mean, I do, but I'm not like mentally disabled or like, it's not a big deal, but yeah, it has an effect in you. And I'll never forget it. It's, you know, especially I was there, and, you know, affects everybody different ways, but, you know, I'm okay. Well, in the days immediately after, I was first of all, when I got there on that Tuesday, I didn't get home till Saturday. I was in the firehouse doing stuff. Thank God nobody from my firehouse passed away. They went there from the beginning, and no one got hurt, not a scratch. Firehouse around the corner lost everybody. They lost everybody working. And the way we do things we start our day at 9 o'clock, but people usually get to work an hour early. So for an hour, there's twice as many guys that should be that are there. So when this came in, I think it was a little after 8 o'clock, there was twice as many people. So instead of having 6 guys, a chief and his aide, which would be 8 people, they had 16, and 15 left. The only reason why the other guy didn't leave, he was in the shower and missed the car ride. So he got there late and he lived. Everyone else passed. Everyone else, they didn't, you know, done. And other firehouses near me lost guys too, but that one right near me, my firehouse is an engine-only firehouse, because that's how some are. And that particular firehouse is a truck-only firehouse. So we were very close, because we go to all the fires together, because in most firehouses you have an engine and a truck. The engines have the hoses, the trucks have the ladders, and they go out as a team. Since we weren't physically together, we were the team a block away, so we were very close to those guys. So that was really sucky, you know, that wasn't good.
Which house was it that lost?
Three truck.
3 truck, and what was your house?
14 engine. And we were physically a couple blocks, so like we were on 18th Street, they were on 14th, we were like, you could walk, walk from one to the other. They're very close, plus close friends wise too. We drilled every, once a week you have what they call multi-unit drill, where firehouses, maybe 2 or 3 firehouses that are close together, go to like a schoolyard, and we put up ladders, we use power tools, we drill, we practice. And we practice with them all the time, and they were like, so that was kind of tough, but I mean, I guess my thoughts, even when I worked, I mean, I was there for so long right afterwards, but even after that subsided and things started to get back to normal, when I went to emergency calls, especially things that are going on in the subway, I was always on the lookout for a terrorist, dirty bomb, some kind of gas agent, anything. I was like, and we had a lot of stuff that it wasn't that, but powder in envelopes, that stuff like that, bomb threats, but you don't know if it's a bomb, which is better, or a dirty. We used to go to a lot of that, because what happened when the police has a bomb threat, they'll call the fire department to stand by close. It's their scene, but if something blows up, then we put out the fire, or do, what I mean? So we're there. So I was like, really much more aware of my surroundings and much less trusting of certain situations that I was before, because I never thought 9/11 happened, but it did. I went back right after with my wife. She wanted to, before the memorial, it was that summer, and we stayed in a hotel room by, and then, she just wanted to walk around. She wanted to see the church that I stayed in. I was in that church, overnight to lay down and rest, and they had food there. She wanted to see that. The memorial, right, well, on the fence of that church, and there's a graveyard there, was pictures that people put up. So we were there then. I saw the first memorial with my wife and some friends, but I've never been back to the new one yet. So I've only been there a couple times. I didn't sleep. You'd go there and lay down for an hour or so. And then if you were hungry, there was food. But it was so nice. The priests were very nice. I mean, there was priests walking around and nuns and candles. It was a dark, because that was at night when I was there. And if I remember it, churches are dark with like candles. It was very churchy, but there was bunk beds set up, and there was, I think there might have even been like EMS people in case you needed help, whatever. It was just nice that they did that, it was close by, and there was that place, and I remember going into an office building that also had like a room kind of like this, but like with easy chairs and a big TV that guys could sit in a chair and watch TV for a little while, before they went back. But that might have been actually, that part might have been actually, I think they, like a couple days later, because we were there, for days and days and days. I mean, in the beginning, it was it was bizarre. Like the next day, I had to hitch a ride with some firemen. We flagged down a police vehicle that was there to set up barricades. So we got in the back of his truck from the towers, and he gave us a ride to 18th Street, because my fire truck was down at the towers, hooked up to a fireboat, pumping water for like weeks. So I didn't have any engine or nothing. So we had to hitch a ride to the firehouse. And the next day, guys came in, whatever, guys were there. We're going back to the towers. But how are we gonna get there? We don't, I didn't really want to take our personal cars. So we walked to Fifth Avenue, and I flagged down a city bus, and I threw everybody off the bus except for the bus drivers, and they took us down. We kind of commandeered the bus. And even my brother, he works in Queens. One of his firemen was an ex-bus driver. They did the same thing, but they kept the bus for a week. And I'm like, Stephen, didn't the captain, you stole the bus? I said, I only borrowed it. You stole it. He said, well, we didn't really steal. We gave it back. I said, oh, I know. But no, you did what you had to do to get down there. I mean, him and those guys, the outer borough guys, the ones that couldn't get through, and thank God they stopped them at the tunnels when they did, because they stopped them before they came down. but they wouldn't let no one else in. And they staged them like at, I guess City Field now and things like that. So my brother went down there, but he never made it to the towers that day because we had 20 guys. By the afternoon, there was too many guys there. We had enough help. And then they organized it to have shifts of people and whatever. So, you know, it was kind of crazy. That day was really, I mean, I don't know if we broke into it or if it was open, but there was a CVS or something that bottled water, before the Red Cross got there, we got bottled water like that. And then the Red Cross came down, which was great that day. They had bottled water, cookies, you know, snacks, and they were good. You know, if you were cold, they, you know, blankets, they were very good. Then it started getting organized. Because then you would see, I saw fire trucks from like New Jersey there, and I'm like, you know, we never, to my memory, I heard rumors that I think they might have, but to my memory, we never needed help from New Jersey. we had a lot of fire trucks wrecked, so I guess we did. What happened was, and I forget when it started, it might have been the next day. The shifts, instead of working the regular charter, was 12 on, 12 off. But, I mean, I stayed there. And it may not have been the next day, it might have been, took a week or so, but I don't remember, because it's hard to remember. But then it got to a point where it was, because I remember when it was 12 on, 12 off, I would go home. So it must have been after a week. That's really hard on you, because by the time you get home and sleep, you gotta go back. And I'm going to Manhattan, so it's not like I'm walking around the corner, so it's almost like, might as well just stay here and sleep, but it's hard to sleep in a firehouse. There's a lot of, you know, noise, and being the captain, I would never get any sleep, because everything comes to me. So it wasn't only, it was hard for all the guys, because that's it, when you, and not, it wasn't just firemen, a lot of outfits did 12 on, 12 off, and when you hear guys doing 12 on, 12 off, it's hard. In the beginning, it's not so bad, but after a week or 2 weeks, you start to get tired. But, you know, you did, I mean, you were tired, but you just, you know, I mean, we would go down there and, you know, you'd be assigned a chief, and what do you want, chief? Okay, you get some buckets, you go to that pile and start digging. And all you did was just dig and dig, and you would think you would find a lot of people, but we didn't find a lot of people. You know, we found not many. Yeah, I mean, the hospitals thought they'd have hundreds of people, and I thought there'd be people, but when I was there that day, I didn't find anybody. But, I mean, I did. The pile was big. I mean, maybe other guys were found. I know there was a group of firemen from Six Truck. Their story's unbelievable. They were caught in a stairwell. A captain and then, I forget how many guys, I would say 4 or 5 or at least 3. And they were coming down a flight of stairs with a lady who needed help. And the buildings collapsed. And out of a whole pile of rubble, the only piece that didn't get crushed was this little stairway that they were in. And I don't know if did you have to, and these guys didn't get a scratch. They somehow got out of that stairway with the woman. And I worked in that firehouse not long after and worked with some of those guys. And when they were telling me the story, because I didn't know about it, you know, but a couple of days or a week later when I found out, I was like, amazing. I mean, a lot of guys have stories, but that was one story I heard. That was a good story, because I heard some bad ones. This was a good story that, whoa, I just couldn't imagine. You know, I just like, talk about your day, you know, it's not your time thing. But yeah, maybe that is just a fire stairs. In the beginning, I used to attend a couple in the Hamptons. When I was still working, if I was working that day, we had something at the firehouse. I never went down to the big one though, you know, at the towers itself. It's just, you know, I don't know. But I've been there occasionally.
Did you know that the photo was being taken?
No.
No.
I didn't know until my wife sent it to me on the computer.
How did you respond to seeing your photo?
Well, I looked at it and I'm like, how do you know it's me? How do you know it's me? I don't even know if it's really me. Because it looks so much like you. I said, I guess so. I was there. I said, you can't see my name, but I mean, if you look at my, my hands, and she goes, no, that's you. Okay. So, it was pretty cool.
Most of the students watching this video were either not alive or babies when September 11th occurred. What is the number one message you would give them?
I don't know, man, that's a tough question. They live in a different world. They're growing up in a different world that I grew up in, and anyone like older than them, basically. They should just be, remember 9/11 for what it is. Don't forget what happened there, about all the civilians that died, and firemen and policemen and EMS and any other emergency worker, and anybody who helped us. We had people there from all over the country, all over the world probably, helping us do whatever we did. And everyone an expert or just helping out. Actors like Steve Buscemi, who was a fireman, who's not for nothing, I grew up in high school with. I know him from high school. He went just because he was a fireman first, and he didn't want any recognition. It got out in the news, but he went to his old firehouse, 55 engine, got his stuff, dug in a pile, had no family. No one would know who this guy was unless you recognized him. So just don't forget all the people that helped and what happened, and just be glad that you live in America and this country is what it is. And I think even though we went through tough times, I think we're stronger for it. We're more aware and vigilant, and we're a better country for it, believe it or not. All bad things sometimes have a good ending. But just remember it and be proud to be an American, and do the right thing. You couldn't buy an American flag right afterwards. They were all sold out. They were on every car. We had them on fire. Well, a lot of fire trucks have them no matter what. Always have had them. But then we put them on because it was good. Right after it, firemen in New York City were like, they're waving to us, to cheer us. Got to the point where I was a little embarrassed, and they come into the firehouse and give us flowers, and oh my God, PC Richards gave us a freezer because where I live, where my firehouse is, there's a lot of fancy restaurants in Union Square. We had so much food that we had to freeze it. Otherwise, so they gave us a freezer. We gave a ton to homeless shelters, hospitals for the nurses and doctors, because we couldn't eat all of it. It was ridiculous. People, someone somehow said, what do you need? And some fireman said, I need underwear and socks and something like that. Yeah, so, next thing you know, I have a room full of socks and T-shirts that I had to give out. And I still have T-shirts at home that I haven't even worn. The sneaker store around the corner, I don't remember, it was a very famous sports store. Gave everybody a brand new set of shoes. They couldn't do enough for us. And and the money that came in was like, God, I don't want this money. We didn't lose anybody. No, you have to take it. So everybody got. So I gave it all to 3 Truck. We didn't keep any of it. And they gave it to the wives and children of 12 people or whatever, 13, whatever, the guys they lost. And there was I have a place up in Deposit, and the people from Deposit set down a truckload of teddy bears for the kids and gave it to the union for the fight. People from all over the country were given. It was so nice, and everyone's joining the service to because now we're going to go to war with these guys, which I think it's great, and the whole country, patriotism was renewed, and not that we always weren't. We are always like that, but it's just when I got out of high school, I didn't want to join the Army, but my brother joined the Air Force. That's what he wanted to. But after 9/11, a lot of high school kids joined the service God bless them. I give them more credit than one of the guys up there. Wasn't a fireman, but he was a friend of one of ours, and he was a service guy, and he must have been off on leave, and he was skiing with us, and he was calling me a hero. I said, "Are you out of your mind?" I said, "I'm not a hero." He says, "You're a hero. You're over there getting shot at." The thing that kind of got to me, everybody said, you know, that firemen are heroes, and look what they did, and bing, bing, bing. And, well, you know, it's great that you think that, but we do that every day. We put out fires every day. This just happened to be a bigger fire. Firemen die at fires, not every day, thank God, but they die at fires. We do what we did there every day. So that night when I went back to the firehouse, I didn't think, I knew it was a big deal, you know, a big fire, and I knew it was horrible. I knew, but it didn't get to me what the whole world thought of me, because to me it was just another fire that was big. So it took a while for it to seep in what people thought, which I think it's great that they think like that, but, you know, I mean, we didn't do anything different that day than any other than just it was big. So, you know, when I got home, there was a pile of flowers and socks stuff on my doorstep. And I said, "Oh, that's so nice," from my neighbors. And my wife was happy to see me. She hadn't seen me in a week. And all my neighbors came over, and I felt great. It was so nice to see that, how much, you know, and the phone just never stopped ringing, "How are you?" Because no one could get me in the firehouse. So my wife had phone call after phone call after phone. And finally, when everybody knew I was home, I was, for days, and it was just so nice. I mean, I was hearing from people I knew from elementary school that I haven't spoken to in 50 years, or 40, you know, forever. Like, it was amazing. It was amazing. And Call Place people were so good. You know, like I said, my neighbors came over, and the cakes and beer, and oh my God, guys, you don't have to do this. Well, I'll take the beer. But guys, you don't have to do this. And it was just so nice. Everybody, and like I said, I didn't expect that. I pulled up, I saw stuff on my doorstep. I was like, oh my God, you know. They were great. Call Place people. Call Place, well, you guys know, it's a tight town. We stick together. It's just, you know, and you know, there's some people I know from Call Place who worked in the towers that have who got out, you know, before they came down. We have some pretty good stories that were like, really, whoa, you know. Well, guys maybe who were supposed to be there, you know, got in late because they decided to go in late that day, or not go in, or were there and decided to boogie out, or got out and they were on a lower floor. As opposed, my friend of mine who worked for Canada Fitzgerald was on the top, you know, they had one of the top floors. He never made it out. So there's tons of non-fireman stories of Call Place people. Yeah, the Call Place people were great. You know, they were couldn't say enough about them.